Hearing chief. Here we go. Yeah, we got 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go, but I'm going to start this off because we're late and it is the Sunday service and I haven't done it in a couple of weeks. And apologies, of course, for missing the Sunday service for the last couple of weeks. It has been an extraordinarily busy month. And when I say busy, I mean I don't remember the last month and a half, actually. A lot of it. I was in the Ideal Home Show, did 4 days there, and then I had the Car of the Year, Irish Car of the Year, Continental Tyres version of it to do as well, which was incredibly involved, and had to write a gigantic speech and give that speech in front of hundreds of people in the hotel the other night. It was absolutely fantastic and had a great evening, and ended up in some place called Legs, whatever Legs is. Looked like a nightclub or something, which was beside House. They've got some really weird names on nightclubs in Dublin, but it was very good. And I ran into a good friend of mine up there as well from Cannonball days. We had a few beers together. It was quite nice, and it turned out to be a brilliant night in the end. But getting there was the effort. Now that effort is over. Now I'm concentrating now on a Christmas video that I'm going to make. I'm hoping it's going to be made somewhere before the 10th of December. If I can, it's going to involve an electric car, a shopping centre, and a Santa Claus outfit. But we'll figure it out. If I can get it done, I can get it done really quickly and have it finished. Right, a few people are already here waiting to go. Oh my God, there's already after 50 people in the house, so it's deadly after 70 seconds. Hit the like button, please. It'd be brilliant. Somebody already clicked the downvote button just because they turned up before we even started and clicked that. But thanks anyway. Whatever buttons you want to click them. It's always good. Derek Norris was the first one to comment. Good afternoon, Derek. Man, glad to have you here. Ray Grace is here. Yes, the winner of Irish Car of the Year this year was the Kia e-Soul. First time in 46 years, 45 years, something like that an electric car has won the overall category. Although we did have the green car of the year has been an electric car, I think a couple of times, maybe once or twice at least. But never before has an electric car gone forward to win the overall award as the car of the year. And it's not, I didn't vote for that. I did vote for that car in its category for sure. Kia e-Soul is one of my favourite cars of all, but actually I voted for the Seat Tarraco in the overall category. I thought that's much more of a unique little beast of a car to have. I think it was very adaptable for the Irish mentality and still future-proof, no problem at all. I'm very misty looking on the screen or something, like there's a cloud, like there's rain on the lens, and there just isn't. I don't want to wipe it though because it'll completely mess it up. Andy McAfee is in the house. Good man. Finally come some more humans. And here there is. Raymond Grace. Hi Bob. I see you're mentioning the Sunday Indo RE Car of the Year. Thanks very much to Campbell Spray, a good mate of mine as well. Campbell is the motoring editor for the Sunday Independent, and he's not a jury member, but he did come along at my behest on Thursday night, and he was very welcome there as well as Eddie Cunningham, who is the motoring editor for the Irish Independent. Philip Nolan was there for the Daily Mail. These are not jurors, they just came along because I just wanted to put on a nice show for everybody, and I really want to extend it to people who are working in the fields. Michael McAleer from the Irish Times was there as well, and so articles are coming out in all of those publications about the event or the night, or the awards or whatever was there. It was a brilliant night, absolutely brilliant night. All of the industry heads, chiefs, managing directors, PR managers, all those people just came along that night. I got to give a really good talk. You guys should be really proud. The only reason I'm there standing talking at the top of that is because of this YouTube channel. And so you should be really proud of what you guys have achieved to drive this channel forward. So I stood up in front of absolutely everybody in the whole place and gave a 5-6 minute talk on the future, and we said goodbye to a number of journalists who had come and gone over the year, who had passed away as well, and people who'd been around, and wives were there. It was just a brilliant night. It was a lovely thing to do anyway. But Damien Caulfield says, update Bob, I have my Disco 4 now 2 years with no issues at all. Amazing to drive, tons of power, wrapped up in Range Rover luxury. Asked you for advice 2 years ago. Love the channel. See, there you go. That's what happens on this channel. I give you long-term advice. It's the advice that goes on for quite some time. And you reap the benefits and rewards of that over time as well. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm delighted for you. I really like that My God, look at all the new followers. What the hell's after happening on Twitter? What I do? Oh, all right, I know what's going on. So I've been on a few things lately as well. I've been on the Ray Darcy show. I've been on Morning Ireland. I've been on Maura and Dahi afternoon show, and I'll be on the Ray Darcy show again this month sometime, I think. And I think just kind of word is spreading, and that's cool. That's okay. I don't mind. That's all right. 2 years ago, Damien Coffey. Damien, what did you buy in that car? Which engine and spec and things did you buy? Byron's here as well. Hit the likes. I met Byron up in the Ideal Home show briefly on the first day. Say a prayer for Damien's bonnet. Robert Van Zandt is here. Bob, I'm in Hong Kong. Oh my God, you're in Hong Kong. Stay safe out there, my man. I know things are not exactly wonderful in Hong Kong at the moment, but we're only hearing one side of the news over here. But anyway, I'm in Hong Kong at the moment. Teslas everywhere, and protesters still couldn't miss the Sunday service. Good to have you here, Robert Van Zandt. Glad you're there. China announced a partnership recently. I did say this on the Sunday service and on videos before, and people were kind of shouting it down because everyone said that hydrogen was very far away, but it's not as far away as you think, because China tends to do things overnight, very quickly. They just throw money at it until whatever they want happens. And what they've done so far is move to electric. They went very quickly, rapidly away from diesel, straight into electric. And that put a lot of car companies in trouble, really, because people like Audi and Volkswagen and Mercedes and all set up plants out in China, because unless you make cars in China, you can't sell cars in China, which is the best rule. And we had it here in Ireland. And Fine Gael gave it up to us. Fine Gael got rid of that rule. A block exemption came in. Unless you couldn't sell cars here in this country unless they were assembled here in this country, which is why we had Fiat and all these other factories up in Dublin. But getting off the point, they've signed a deal recently to do hydrogen cars. They really want to invest a lot of money very quickly into hydrogen, and they have literally stolen engineers from all over the bleeding world to come out to China to work on hydrogen. So I foresee a very sharp turnaround in hydrogen coming very soon. So Tesla, now that doesn't mean electric cars are going to be gone. It's the opposite, actually. It just means that the batteries will be charged by hydrogen rather than being charged by plugging into the wall the whole time. Another way to charge them. It's just fairly straightforward. Anyway, we'll come to that in a minute. It's good to see Teslas everywhere and protesters. Yes, stay safe out in Hong Kong. I know they're in trouble out there and have been for some time. Hopefully things will sort themselves out eventually. They should keep on protesting though. Jerry in Wicklow, good man, good to have you here. Powell is here as well. Bobson, thank you very much. Annie McAfee, welcome Bob, good holiday. I had a lovely few days break, which you see at the end of the Renault traffic video. I do mention the places we went to. The holiday was absolutely gorgeous. We only had, I think, 3 days or 4 days off. It's the first 3 or 4 days off I've taken in more than 12 months actually. We were supposed to go on holidays earlier on in the year, but my wife got an appendicitis, so we didn't do that. We never went on holidays, so this was our holiday. But we ended up, a lovely woman called Colleen, an Australian woman, down in Cork, opened an entire campsite for us to come and visit. So it was just the 4 of us in it. Well, the 4 of us and a pig called Doris and a few chickens and 2 dogs. And it was wonderful. It was just us and them and muck and yurts and stuff. If you're on my Instagram, you would see it. You can follow me on Instagram or follow me on Twitter. You'd see some pictures of the thing. Wild time, absolutely brilliant. And we stayed in Tipperary. We stayed a couple of nights in the campsite in Tipperary, looking at the Galtee Mountains. Fascinating area, beautiful, highly overlooked. Wicklow takes all of the credit, but God, the Galtee Mountains are absolutely gorgeous. I have to go back down there and climb them. Operator Hoot is here, John Thompson is here, Mick Mulcahy, Niall Burke, Zdenko, Hellhound, Peter Dolan. Peter Dolan says, hi Bob, what's your thoughts on the Golf Mark 8? Wouldn't be gone in design. From what I've seen of it so far, I wouldn't be gone on it myself. I think it looks quite like a Corolla. A Corolla hatchback, which is disturbing because a Corolla hatchback is gorgeous, but it'd be disturbing for a German company to start copying what a Japanese company is doing. It's usually the other way around. But neither here nor there, I will be on the launch of the Golf 8. I have no idea. I think it's in Porto, so I think I'm going there. And speaking of launches, tomorrow, if you're anywhere around Prague, I'm going to Prague for the launch of the world premiere of the Skoda Octavia. So I'll be there tomorrow, and I'm going on a little tour. We're going to have get up really early on Tuesday morning and have a little tour around Prague to see what it looks like. So that's where I'll be tomorrow. And then there's a few other trips coming up, and I have to go to Galway for a couple of days or an overnight or something for a Darcy show and do a few other things. There's loads of stuff coming up. It's a crazy time coming right now. But anyway, by the way, there's a little weird thing out there popping up. I don't know if anyone's ever done it, but you can buy a sticker or something. It keeps popping up on me every once in a while. Remind your viewers to buy stickers. I don't know what the stickers look like. I haven't a clue, so I'm not telling you to buy them. But you can do super chats still on this channel so far. There's some changes coming to the terms of service of YouTube. From the 10th of December, they're going to disable channels that are not commercially viable anymore. It's very broad term. Don't know what that means. I don't know if that means they're going to get rid of me or they're going to get rid of smaller than me. I don't know what the hell it means. It doesn't really mean anything at the moment because I have no information on it. But the 10th of December, this could be all over on the 10th of December. And I might have to go and find another job entirely. Derek Fenlon says, hi Bob, I see Mazda going electric. What do you think? It's about time. They should have done it a couple of years ago. They rallied against it for a couple of years. They really did. They didn't want to deal with electric. They wanted to go hybrid. They were all into their mild hybrid. They were all into their Sky Active X and G and stuff, and now all of a sudden they are going to go electric because they just have no choice. It's where the market is heading. There isn't really a place to hide from it. It's going to catch up on you one way or the other. But that keeps me on the topic of what Mazda were up to at the begin with the Sky Active X and G. So these were incredibly lightweight, really efficient, small engines, and they were doing a bloody good job of it. I mean, they were a proper job. You can get in a Mazda 3 right now. Petrol and Diesel have had a giant amount of money fired at them since electric thing has really come on, because a lot of cars weren't ready for electric. A lot of companies, Volkswagen Group for instance, weren't really ready for electric, and we're still not quite ready for electric. I see still on Facebook multiple posts from people saying, can I get from here to there and be able to charge and come back and blah, blah. It's still going on. It's still this awful, and I foresee in the next couple of years a pile of used cars on the market, all second-hand electric cars on the market, because people just get so frustrated with the whole system of electric cars and whether they're viable or useful or what they're going to do. So it's very hard to tell which way this is going to go, but I really do think that we're now in a transition period, and a lot of people are early adopters into it. Some people will stick with it. Other people will fall back into petrol and diesel. And I do think petrol and diesel are going to make a comeback in the market because it's impossible for electric to supply the entire market currently. If everybody suddenly this December went, hang on, in January I'm going to buy an electric car, there's not enough of them. That's just the reality of the whole thing. You have to wait months to get one. So what are you going to do in the meantime? Anyway, Steve O.C. is here. John Carney's here. Rusty Bunt is here. He said that completely wrong. Hi, Hellhound. Good to have you back. Thank you very much, Hellhound. I am here for the next few hours. Derek Fenlon. Thank you. Derek Fenlon gave me a super chat there and wrote the number 3. I don't know what the number 3 means, but I'll say it out loud because you paid for that there, Derek Fenlon. So you can basically say whatever you want. Anyway, thank you very much for the super chat. You too can donate to this channel. It's going to be very important, I think, after the 10th of December. But you can donate to this channel for multiple ways down below. There's links underneath this in the comments here for PayPal, which is direct money to the channel. That comes directly to me. There's nobody taking big cuts out of that apart from PayPal doing their thing. You can do it here on Super Chat, which gives YouTube a cut out of it, but it doesn't really matter. That's okay. It just goes into the weekly taking things. And there is also Patreon, which I'll be doing more on Patreon. It's coming up, I promise. We're going to change the Patreon thing, or Patreon thing, so just give you more of a chance there to be a monthly badger, monthly subber, whatever you want to call that sort of thing. We're going to do all sorts of stuff there on Patreon. Anyway, back to the deal here. John Carney says, hi Bob, great to have your Sunday service back. Howdy neighbour. Good to have you, John. Thanks very much. John is in Portlaoise as well. He's a driving instructor in Portlaoise. He's on Facebook if you ever want to follow what he does. E.T. Flyer says, good morning from America. Is it morning in America? Oh, it will be a 2 to 1. Depends if it's New York or not. About 5 hours behind us is New York, which is on the east coast of New York. Annie McPhee says, for some unknown reason, subtitles are on my screen and it's hilarious watching and trying to figure out what you're saying. I have watched a couple of my videos from the past with the subtitles turned on, which are auto-generated by the computer in the algorithm in the computer, sometimes it's absolutely spot on. But when I do something Irish in the middle, or say something like trees, it immediately goes out the window. You can't cope with that at all. But then that's the nature of machines. They're not able to listen to people completely perfectly, because we're not like machines ourselves. So I wish they'd just give up doing machines. Anyway, Dermot Walsh is here. Sean McCabe is here. Bossa Dave says, is it possible to put a Passat diesel engine into a salvaged Tesla S? Batteries are too expensive to replace. I don't think there'd be engine mountings in there for a Passat. If you ever wonder about engine mountings and why you're not able to transplant any engine to basically any other engine cars, just sheer dimensions. Because if you look in at your engine, you've got sort of pins that stick up either side and at the back and the front and stuff, and the engine sits down on those. They're called the engine mountings. So to sit down on top of that, they have bushings and things that allow the engine to be balanced where it sits, and when it's running, it's able to move around. It won't upset the car too much. And so those bushings and engine mountings have to be in exactly the same place for an engine to go in on top. So some engines are good at donating into other engines, other units are good at receiving the donations. But a Tesla Model S, don't know, you could cut a hole in it, I suppose, and stick an engine down the middle of it. It'd be funny to go to a test track and have a Model S normal one, then have a petrol powered Model S standing beside a big V8 sticking out or something. Well, I was going to skip forward on me. I knew it would. All this time, still I never sorted out that skipping forward thing. Anyway, we're catching up now in a second. Here we are. Do you know David Cuddy on Snapchat? He's from your neck of the woods. He'd be good for a video. You know what? He is on Instagram, and I only found him like 2 days ago. I didn't know he existed. He's out cutting trees down in something. He's called, what's he called on Instagram? Making Buck or Making Big Buck or something like that. It's very good. It's entertaining. I'll say it's filthy, so don't let your kids look at it, but it's good. But yeah, he is on, I don't know about Snapchat. I don't really use Snapchat, but he is on Instagram as well. David Cook is here. Good man, David. Hi, how are you? Snazbot, do you think a lot of women and some men sit too low on cars, and is it dangerous? I do see sitting in the wrong position in a car can be dangerous. It depends on what's happening, right? So if you're too high in a car and the car has a collision, usually quite a heavy collision, there's a high risk of your head hitting the roof inside, because a lot of cars, you get fired up and down, not just forward and back, but up and down in the middle of an accident. In sitting too low means you can't see over the bonnet. Not necessarily in itself dangerous, but unless you hit the airbag dead center where you're supposed to hit it, everything is dangerous. Unless you sit just like a crash test dummy inside in the car, it's always dangerous, 100% dangerous. You've got to sit properly in a car. But I do find, and this is, I don't know, because cars are big and are not necessarily designed for men or women, really. Neither of them are quite in mind. They're designed for crash test dummies, but crash test dummies tend to be man-shaped or about man-sized. But what happens is women want to be able to see the end of the bonnet. So some women sit right up on top of the steering wheel. And I mean right up, very, very, very close to the steering wheel. Which means in the event of a collision, the airbag is going to hit them rather than they hit the airbag. You're supposed to hit the airbag. It's not supposed to hit you. It inflates at about 250 miles an hour, give or take. And it's up and down. And what I'm told is a good friend of mine, Tony Toner, who's a safety instructor, puts it a good way. He says you will not actually see the airbag do its job. The first thing you'll know about a collision where an airbag has gone off is you'll smell it. You'll smell the cordite. That's the first thing. It's going to inflate and deflate quicker before you get a chance to see it. So sitting in a car is vitally important. Sitting properly in a car. I'm going to wipe that little lens there because it's very misty looking, I think. We'll see now as that helps it. Anyway, we'll see. Right now, 1 second. So the lens might have got a little bit misty. So that's your answer there. Yes, women and men shouldn't sit so low down in cars or too high up in cars. You should just be able to see over the top of the windscreen, see the top of everything, and be able to clean yourself out of the car without having to worry about it too much. That's going to come back into focus. Yeah, that looks a bit better, isn't it? I think. I don't know. Anyway, you don't need to see it, you just need to hear it, don't you? Mark Turner Smith, afternoon, Bob. Have you missed the sunny climate of the Peugeot 208 test yet? Great spot on your exterior filming. Dinner cooking in the background was a quick exit of beer. That's true. That all actually happened live. It was the display car. Usually car companies, you put a display car near where you have dinner so to keep it in your brain, talking about the car, seeding it into your head. But it's it's when that car was sitting out in front, and that's actually a basic model. The other models looked nicer. The ones with the big alloys and stuff on it looked really nice. So I thought I'd show you that basic one because I could film the other ones out in the yard, but they were really high spec ones. But the basic one was quite nice. Still one of my favourite cars. I think it's going to do very well. I'm looking forward to driving it here in Ireland. It will be out, but it'll be next year. I think it's going to be out first. Dermot Watch reckons I'm out of sync. Don't watch, just listen. Turn the visual off and listen to the audio. Just as good. Andy McAfee says Skoda Scala 1 litre TSI 115 horsepower, I think that is. SE manual. Seen in dealers in England with some pre-registered ones all ready to go delivery miles. 12,950 Great British pounds on the road. Seems like a good deal and I'm tempted for handiness. It is a great little car. Do not buy the 1.5. I do suggest you have a mess with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto before you drive it, because I have the Volkswagen T-Cross, I have the Volkswagen T-Cross, a brilliant little car, love it to bits, 6-speed manual with a 1 litre TSI, and it still does the crashing thing with the Apple CarPlay. It just crashes, just regularly. I don't know why it does it. Bluetooth seems okay, but Apple CarPlay and these crashes a lot, and it drives me up the wall. But Scala is a gorgeous little car. I do love driving that little car. It's bigger, much bigger than it looks. And 1 litre TSI will pull the car around probably forever. 115 horsepower is enough for anybody. And I have the 1 litre T-Cross out there today. I have to remember which one's which. Noel Davison, welcome back to the Sunday service. Thank you very much, Noel Davison. It's good to be here. I did miss it. I do miss it on Sunday. If I don't do it, I get kind of weird. I get really itchy feet, like waiting to do something. It seems weird, but it's just the way I do it. The stream is off lip sync. I can't help the sync, I'm afraid. It's just the way it's coming out. OBS is what I use. Yeah, that's true. It is slightly out of sync. OBS is what I use in the background, which is a free streaming program. The only program still that actually streams directly into YouTube that I can find. And it's set up in such a way that it just kind of pops up on the screen. So I have no real... Once it actually starts running, I don't really have any control over the whole thing. According to YouTube, the health stream is good and is running nicely, and there's no problem with it whatsoever. So YouTube is right up there. Now, that's why... Just telling you there again, that sticker thing has come up again. It says, with super stickers, your fan can buy fun, colourful images to express themselves during live streams and premieres. I have a feeling that's based upon children, and I don't really do children stuff on this channel, so I don't really get a lot of kids here. So I don't expect anyone to buy any stickers, and I don't even know what it looks like when someone does buy a sticker. Just do a super chat. It's much easier. Paul O'Connor, the neighbours' kids want a cat for Christmas. Most people are having turkey. Yeah, you could. I don't know about stripping a cat. Would it make a lot of noise when you're tearing the skin off? But anyway, could be crispy. Never ate cat before. Did have an opportunity to eat dog once upon a time, but I didn't take it. It was in New Zealand. But I don't know whether the kids want cat or my kids definitely. We inherit cats. We don't actually have a pet in the house because we've no time for one. We've no time to invest in one, and we don't have somewhere to kind of drop a dog off to be minded for the day when we're not here. And I don't like leaving animals just to rip the garden up or whatever. So what happens is cats call around. Now we have 2 cats. We don't actually have 2 cats. They just come and they spend a day hanging around the house, being petted and messed around. Then they feck off at lunchtime and dinner time and head off and get themselves something to eat. But they're always here. So we do kind of inherit cats. When I was a young lad, my mother used to call me Dr. Doolittle because I always came home with a pet, a stray or dog or something would follow me home. And even the most vicious animal, I would just be able to talk to be fine. I'd go to farms and stuff, and you know, cows. It doesn't bother me. Animals don't bother me at all. Michael Carton. Hi Bob, I'm looking at a 142 Nissan Qashqai, 9,995. It's very specific. Where's the other fiver going? Anyway, 1.5 diesel S. Need to get 4 or 5 years out of what's your thoughts? You'll certainly get that out of the 1.5 diesel, which is a rock solid DCI engine from the Renault Nissan group. It is never really, it's noisy. It's probably not terribly torquey. It's like one of those all-around engines. It's not really good at anything. It's just good at everything. So it's very economical. It's very torquey, or it can be very torquey when you rev the nuts off it, but it will go around the clock. They're very reliable. Plenty of parts around for them. And at 10 grand, not bad. I prefer to see it getting a bit closer to the 9 grand. That extra €995 could be knocked off that without a shadow of a doubt. Do a bit of negotiations at it. Is a 142. Second half of 14. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It's still 5-year-old car. Seriously, you should be getting it for 9,250. Somewhere in that region I'd be looking for. But you will definitely get plenty of mileage out of that car. The Qashqai is usually pretty well equipped as well, although their infotainment system is very old fashioned at this stage. But still, it's not a bad car. My God, I have so many phones going off beside me all of a sudden. Celtic 88, never heard that name before. Looking well today, Bob. Thanks very much. Saw your story. How's the running working out for you in terms of weight loss? My big problem was I got so busy at international launches, and then everything else has been piled in on top of me, that I wasn't running for a good month and a half. And I gained weight. I gained 8 or 9 kgs in that time. So I ended up going from 85 kgs to nearly 95 kgs at one point. Now I've trimmed it off again a little bit, because I was eating the same amount or even more, but not exercising anything off, so not getting rid of any of it. So a 10k run is worth the thick end of 1,000 calories to you. So that either means you can eat or drink 1,000 calories extra because you can run, or you can trim off and burn off an extra 2,000 calories a day. So if you work out your resting metabolic rate, an RMR it's called, it's quite easy to work out. There's loads of websites to do it. So you basically put in your weight, your age, and a resting metabolic rate is what would happen if you woke up in the morning and spent 24 hours just lying down, not moving at all. Mine works out to be like 2,000 to 2,300 calories, somewhere around that. When I add activity into that and I start going out filming and all that sort of stuff, it ends up being closer to 3,000. So I could eat about 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day and not gain or lose weight. But I was eating way more than that, way beyond that, and not burning any of it off. So if I add in a run, I could eat 4,000 calories a day, and that's to be okay. Somewhere around there. But the running is brilliant to be back at. God, I cannot wait to keep on going. I'd go again to see them. I did 5k today. I did 7.5k yesterday, and straight after the car of the year. So I feel good. I've come out of that in a nice way. That worked out very, very well for me. Cross 13 says the math doesn't work on hydrogen. It's just not a feasible thing for anything beyond stationary grid storage. I get it, but I still think that because the Chinese are going to put so much money into it so quickly, and they're so rich and wealthy, that they will make it work. I mean, it's not like whether the math works or not. They're just going to invest a ton of money, which is the same as what they did with electric cars. Last couple of years, they just built factory after factory after factory without any question. They were just building them. That's it. I do think that hydrogen currently could work in a fleet sense, and I don't mean fleet of cars, but I mean a fleet of buses or trucks, because you would only need to have one hydrogen storage facility that would serve multiple places, but it's just one. It's a depot. So everybody goes back to the depot to fill up, so you need one hydrogen place. So you can easily do that, but I'm not sure still it's monetarily feasible to start moving hydrogen around unless you're producing it here, which is a different story. Daniel 1 says, hi Bob. Oh, how I wish petrol and diesel would live on. I'm afraid to buy electric. I have no way of charging the car if it's parked outside the public road, and I do a lot of driving. Okay, let's just weigh that up for a second. Petrol and diesel cannot vanish in the next 10 years. It's not possible to replace it all. No matter how much electricity, no matter how much batteries come out, it's just not possible to replace it all. It's fantastic when you look at somewhere like Ireland, which is a tiny little island off the far west coast of Europe, blockaded now by a country that wants to leave Europe. We can't do what needs to be done to turn the entire fleet in Ireland into electric. It's just not possible. We're closing 2 plants here in the Midlands. The ESB has decided to close 2 peat-fired power plants. So you can't generate more power when you're closing down plants. But besides that, you've got multiple places on Earth where electricity is not possible to generate at that kind of rate to be able to replace all those cars. Think of the vast size of Canada, Russia, even the vast size of America. And then once you start getting down into the African end of the world, then you're in all sorts of trouble trying to figure out how to make them guys move anything from where they are, a Toyota Hilux, to an electric version. It's just not going to happen. It's not. If you buy a car today, how long are you going to hold on to it for? 10 years, 15 years? You're still going to be able to buy fuel for it, I promise. You will definitely not have to worry about diesel or petrol out on the road today. But at the same time, electric is coming, and I think electric has a wonderful place at the moment, an absolutely brilliant place. So you live in a city, you work in a city, and you drive into the city, you should be cycling a bike. It's just that straightforward. Just pure laziness is keeping people in cars. And the more time you spend in the car, I drove into Dublin city centre on Thursday evening for it wasn't even the evening, it was the afternoon. It's 3 o'clock in the bloody afternoon, 2:30, 3 o'clock. Driving into the Weston Hotel, I parked in a private little car park under the Weston. I got special permission to do that. Thank you, Weston. Private little private car park underneath it. And that's on Fleet Street, right in the city centre. And honest to God, lads, I went from Junction 14 on the N7 to the Naas Road, MDL, Mercedes, and I picked up a Volkswagen, dropped a Mercedes, and that took me 40 minutes. It took me another 50 minutes to get to the Weston. Dublin's chronic, and it's not because they're not electric cars, it's because there's too many cars. It's just that straightforward. There's too many cars. You've got to get rid of them. Cross says, making a point about hydrogen again, privately many Toyota's engineers will even admit that. Yes, true, but Toyota doesn't have the money of China. It's coming at us like a freight train, and you ignore it at your peril, because China, and I know people working in China, I know people who left BMW, I know people who left Kia and Hyundai, and have gone to China to work, and they're telling me stuff that's happening over there right now, and they have an unlimited wedge of cash to make it work. So when you have unlimited cash, you'd be surprised how things can work out very fast for you. Carjacker, glad to hear you didn't use the term there's been an explosion in hydrogen cars in China. No, there hasn't, not yet. Powell says, Bob, what do I mean with Marek Drives? We could not make it work, could not make the dates work for Marek Drives. I will meet him probably next year at this stage, because it's bloody freezing in Poland, and I'm from little old Ireland here. We have temperate climate. But I will get over there next year. I promise we will hook up, and we will make a big epic road trip video around Poland somewhere. I had all intentions to go, but it's so busy right now. Getting 2 days or even 3 or 4 days to go over there to make a video and to meet up and get to know each other and get to figure out what's going on in the country and how to read road signs and all that stuff. It all has to be done. It's different when it's a press trip, when a car company's bringing you over, because it's very guided, lots of minders and people to make sure you don't go wild and sat-nav and stuff. When it's just two YouTubers meeting up, it's a different story entirely. But we will meet up at some point. Chrissy, is that Chrissy? Any ideas when NIOESB will be on sales in Europe? Nice car. Never even heard of it. ES8, no, never heard of it. No idea. Haven't looked up that one. Marcus Hogan, hi Bob, my mother is getting a run around from my aunt 2005 Mini John Cooper Works, dirt cheap, 1350. She'd only drive it once or twice a week. I've never even driven a supercharged car before. It's a brilliant crack. Actually, it's an ordinary car to drive until you want to go fast, and then it's a serious machine. But you have to know how to get it to the wanted to go fast part. And from 2005, the steering wheel's entirely in the wrong place. I don't quite fit in that car. I nearly fit in the car, but not quite. It's very good. You'd be surprised how quick you feel tiny on the road. Tiny in comparison to absolutely every other vehicle in the market. There was a picture I put up on Instagram a while ago where I had a Mini from Mini Ireland, a little old one, and I parked it in Newbridge and took a picture of it. Look, it was in just beside a whole heap of other cars, and the little dinky size, you could have fit 3 of the things at the car park space. It's so small, and yet it's a full size car in size. It's gotten big because of safety. It's pure safety. It's getting the people collisions further away from you, because in one of those old Minis having a crash, the engine's going to come into the compartment at your knees. You're probably not going to survive that very nicely. The Singing Shade checking in on the Sunday service. The Singing Shade. Now that gets me curious. I always get curious when someone has a great name like that. Powell says, maybe meeting with Marek in Warsaw after Octavia's premiere in Prague. Not unless he's coming. He might be coming. I never asked him. Bloody hell, he might be coming to the world premiere in Prague. If he is, I'll meet him there. I'll track him down. Jerry in Wicklow says, Jerry Wicklow actually is his username. Jerry in Wicklow is what I'm saying, because it just sounds good, doesn't it? Hydrogen might suit buses, fleet vehicles, no need for nationwide infrastructure yet. Correct and true, absolutely. There's a change of fuels is what's going, not a change. There's an additional fuel coming on. Even in my speech tonight to the entire car industry, I pointed out how many fuels there are already to pick from. Like when you start looking at different ways that cars are being powered now, there's already multiple ways you can power a car. And we're just dumping all that into electric now. We're just kind of going electric. And that's great. Short term, 100% I'm with you on electric, without a shadow of a doubt. It doesn't suit everybody. There's definitely not all users. You cannot take a current diesel car driver and just transport them into electric and all will be well in the world. It won't. They're going to find it very, very frustrating for a few months. They may even find it frustrating to the point that they hate the experience and have to keep the car up entirely. Because not everybody has the patience to plug in their phone every day, let alone plug in their car every day if that's what they have to do. Because like even my battery in my iPhone now has gone down to 79% left of its power. Your man in the shop is going to replace it for me under warranty. Like that's how quick that happens. I don't even have it. I only have it since August, and 79% of its battery left. He's going to change the battery out. So it's not just battery degradation we're talking about here, but it's just the frustration level of using an electric car when you've never done that before, when that's not in your remit. Video is a bit behind the audio. We'll check my speed. I don't think it's you. I think it's the YouTube or the thing that's transmitting it. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You can listen in. The audio is going to be well up there, so just the visuals will be slightly behind. If I stop and start to stream again now, it just completely screws up the algorithm and it freaks it out. It doesn't know what to do with you. So you get nothing for the second one. Oh, I have to give a recommendation. Can I give you a recommendation now? This has not been sent to me. This is not sponsored in any way. This is something I bought because I travel a lot and I end up having to drink water in airports. I don't want to buy any more plastic bottles. I don't like buying plastic bottles full of water when I pass through the airport. I used to love the airplane on in Dublin. You paid €1 and you just picked up a bottle of water and walked on the plane. It was brilliant. But I want to stop the plastic pollution. So I'm recommending this crowd called Grail, Grayl. It is actually a plastic bottle, but inside this bottle is a filter, a water filter. So you fill up this green bit from any source and then you push the filter down into it and it filters out all kind of pathogens and everything else out of the bottle, and you end up with clean drinking water inside it. So you can drink out of a hotel tap, or you can fill up in a dodgy airport in Morocco or whatever it is, and you get clean water out of it. I'm going to be doing that with me on press trips from now on, so I don't have to fill up from a plastic bottle. So now, just thought I'd try one. Like I said, it's not sponsored. I'm not telling you to go buy Grail bottles, but that's the only one I've seen that does that job. And I bought that from a shop in Cork online. Really nice people. It was sent out to me instantly. It was here like 48 hours later. It was a sports shop in Cork, so you don't have to buy it off the internet. I mean, overseas, you can buy it here in Ireland. I'm getting information about my trip tomorrow, Octavia Unveil in Prague, which is going to be interesting. Looking forward to that. I've seen multiple spy thingamajigs and all sorts of, sketches and drawings and things that are coming out. Let's hope it's as good as it should be. I have very high expectations of what's coming out of Skoda with this Octavia, because the Octavia is one of my favourite cars. On this channel I recommend it quite a bit. When anybody's thinking about buying a car, I always go, you should just look at Octavia. It's able to do everything you wanted to do. Forget about that. Just gonna have a drink. Hold on. It is a wide mouth bottle as well, not a sucky straw thing, which I hate. Noel Davison. One of my earliest memories is my dad, long past, bringing me to his place of work, Chrysler Talbot Assembly Plant in Santry, Dublin. He put the doors on Hillman Hunters and Sunbeams. My God, what a memory, Noel Davison, to have. Incredible. We don't build cars here anymore at all, actually. So you're dead right. They don't get built here now. I'm skipping around the screen there. I'm not too sure what's going on there now. Something is happening, obviously. I don't see any problems on my end. Encoder overloaded. Actually, I do. Encoding overloaded. Consider turning down the video set. I mean, know what that means? Never heard of it. I never really look at this thing in this way. I should, I suppose. It usually works flawlessly, but it must be under pressure now today. Anyway, we'll muddle through. We'll try our best to get through to the end of this. Noel Davison, that's an absolutely brilliant memory to have. You'd be one of the very few people in the world who would have any memory of any sort of manufacturing or assembly going on in Ireland about anything. So it's very hard to keep up to date with it, but it's definitely there. My God, there's an awful lot of you watching. Could you all just click the like button anyway? And if you want to support the channel properly, you can support it through Super Chat. There's a Patreon link down below, and there's also a PayPal link down below. Any one of those is a means to support the channel properly, because actually no car companies pay any money to be here whatsoever. So it's always very much appreciated if you can support the channel. It'd be brilliant. At least subscribe. That actually drives the channel forward the whole time. I have over 20 million people have watched this channel. Over 250,000 people a month watch this channel. And yet I have 43,000 subscribers. I don't know how that balance happened, but yeah, I think people just come and watch the one video and then they head off. DUE says, what I miss? You missed everything. You're too late. You shouldn't have bothered. Now, there you are. I see you weren't here at 2 o'clock now. I'm giving out to you. My God, hang on. 2:09. I'm already way over half an hour behind. Darren Bulger. Hi Bob, I bought an 18 Passat GTE PHEV in England. Brilliant car, fast, cheap to run, and still got screwed for 3,700 VRT. You can't get second hand one here. Can't win. You're right. You're absolutely right. VRT is, I don't know why we haven't burnt down Leinster House over VRT. It's been there for years. I've told you multiple times that you should protest. It's a point of protest we should have had for years and years and years. It makes us completely uncompetitive with Europe on prices. It makes us completely uncompetitive with England on prices. And it's a total protectionist system that has been brought in by the government to stop you importing cars. And that's literally all it does. That's all it's designed to do. Now it's just a money-making scheme. And the second-hand market would be decimated if we removed it right now, but it would only be decimated for about 12 months, and then it would go back to normal. The point of VRT was to stop you importing used cars from England. That's exactly what they're using it for still. They're trying to still hammer home the point of buy Irish when people are not buying Irish because they're being ripped off. If you go down to Barcelona and you drive out of Barcelona Airport, one of the first things you'll see is a huge big billboard on the side of the road for a Seat Leon, or a Seat Ibiza, or a Seat something, because they're made there. You see, they're made right beside it. And you often find it's like $6,000 cheaper than the one that's in Ireland. The starting price, 6, 7, 8, 9 grand cheaper. It's crazy difference of price. You kind of go, wow, why doesn't everybody just come down here and buy a left-hand drive and drive it home? But we are completely blind to it, and people just don't want to talk about getting rid of it. And that's the way to do it. Unfortunately, wow, that just jumped forward there in a big way. Come back, and go back up again. Hold on. Paul O'Connor, how petrol and diesel are coming back? What is clean diesel? As is a 171 Skoda Superb with AdBlue clean? Yes, 'tis. 171 diesel Skoda Superb with AdBlue is very clean and getting cleaner, because the companies who are making the diesel and the petrol, ergo like Enron and all those kind of customers, or all the people who are making it at the top, are actually making cleaner and cleaner fuel. So the actual fuel that's been put into the tank in the first place is now getting cleaner again, even though diesel is already full of chemicals to clean it up in the first place. It's going to get more chemicals put in and more washes and systems, and so is petrol. We're going to get DPF technology now is very high scale. It's very, very good and works very well. GPF will be gasoline particulate filter, which will be going into a lot of petrol cars in the near future, and that's going to make it cleaner again. So this idea that they're getting cleaner and cleaner in the background of electric cars coming is still working very well. Now, if you can mix a mild hybrid together with one of these clean petrols, you're going to get a very clean car in the first place. But that's not what a lot of evangelists of EV technology want to hear. That's not what they want to talk about. They just want to talk about electric cars. My fear is pushing you towards electric cars and then finding in 5 or 6 years' time that we can do 900 kilometers or 800 kilometers in an electric car, and your car is gone. Like, it's useless to you. Like Generation 1 Nissan Leaf, nobody wants it. You know, only very specific people want them anymore. John Delaney's here. I hope that is actually John Delaney, in that John Delaney from the FAI. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? Irish Foxhound 1, good man. Cabwab, Tom, Chris Needham. Just putting subtitles on for a laugh. Do that for the giggle. It's always a bit of a laugh, actually. How YouTube tries to interpret the Irish accent. Conasatatu, Tome Gama. See if we can work that one out for a bit. Mackenzie 403. Bob, I'm on mobile 4G. Your streaming is running well. I rented a Ford Galaxy diesel. That's a good car. Ford Galaxy is a bloody good car. Very few second hand, or very few new or second hand, actual 7-seat cars you can have out there in the market, and the Ford Galaxy is still one of them. I was carrying 7 passengers for the day, doing a 100-mile trip. Diesel still makes sense. It does 100% makes sense in that respect, particularly when you're carrying that much weight inside the car and the car is that size. It does make a big difference. Diesel works very well in that situation. Currently, electric can't touch it, not even nearly. If you look at Audi e-tron, which is not exactly a big car, but that's kind of that size and weight of a Galaxy, the range of that's tiny. You'd be permanently trying to plug the thing in if it was full of people. And the same applies to the Model X, which has a much further range. And I've done it myself. I've driven from Portlaoise to Waterford and back with the kids in the car the whole lot in the same day, still at 25% battery on return. But 100 miles, you're pushing it. Like, you're pushing it. You're going to have to charge at some point of that journey, at some point. Byron says 100 viewers hit the like button. 143 is what I'm saying right now, so that's pretty good. This is going to be a big day as per usual, and unfortunately the old stream is kind of stuttering along a little bit. The picture is, I don't think the audio is, the picture is kind of hopping around the place. Maybe it'll settle down. Might be my laptop getting a bit old. Could do with a few donations there to make the laptop a bit better. That's what happens when somebody leaves a comment going, you should upgrade your camera and make it better. You'd be better off filming in 4K and then just link to the PayPal thing. Yeah, go for it. Another slurp there. Cross says, always worried about the relevance of crash tests for different body sizes and heights being larger than the average bear. Yeah, that's true. I often slouch in many cars when I straighten out, my head is against the roof. 100%, you're absolutely right. Some of the American crash tests now are testing on heavier set dummies, so dummies that are shaped differently. The problem is that humans start at 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot for an average adult, you know. So if you take a small dinky woman, you know, she could be full-size adult, 25 years old and 5 foot tall, and she's going to drive a Mercedes E-Class or something, right? And she hops in, and that car has had the crash test of me, my size, 6 foot. So she's short of a foot. So she puts a cushion under. Now, the whole purpose of the car is being defeated here because there's a cushion going underneath her, which means the submarining system isn't going to work. And submarining means to slide out underneath the seatbelt. So if in the event of a crash, you submarine under the seatbelt and come out on the car. So seatbelts now are designed to be anti-submarine. So they're designed to stop you moving down in the seat. But if you put a cushion under you, the cushion slips and you go with it. And then you submarine again. So there is an element of that, and big guys, so lads that can be up to 7-8 foot tall. I met a man on a press trip once upon a time. He was 6'9" or something, 6'10". I can't remember. He was much taller than me, and you're looking at him going, how does he even get in? How do you fold yourself up enough to get inside a vehicle and be a journalist? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, how do you test small cars? But he's a very nice chap, but that means that he hasn't been tested for either. So in the event of a collision, he's not tested for. Bigger lads are not tested for. Little tiny women are not tested for. Little tiny men are not tested for. So there's an average height that they test at, and you're probably not it. So getting 5 stars on an NCAP rating for pedestrian and crash detection and all that sort of stuff is deadly, but it probably doesn't apply to you. Dermot Walsh. Sitting too low in a car can cause you to be below the line of the sun visor, and when you come to the crest of a hill, e.g. a humpback bridge on the road, can disappear from view. Yeah, that's the time to floor it and jump the bridge. Sorry. No, it's not. But you can if you want to. Irish Foxhound 1 says, Bob, engine fake noise, how prevalent is it amongst the VW brand, i.e. Passat? Anything that doesn't sound like an engine is probably a little bit fake at the moment. So if it's like a GTE or the hybrid version of it, they will either pipe in the sound of the actual engine that it's making out there, or they will amplify it in some way through the speakers. It's not very prevalent, and I'm not actually against it. I do quite like the idea of giving you... I think cars are exciting because they're very noisy, right? If you watch a car do donuts or watch a car race around Mondale or whatever, it's the noise, it's the sound, it's the smell, it's that raw edge to the whole thing that actually makes it exciting. If you watch an electric car race, it's not terribly exciting because they have to make noise, so they have to do something to make sounds. So I'm kind of into the idea of a car making a bit of noise. If you look back at a video I made of the bi-turbo Audi A6 here in Ireland, which sounds like a V8 burble everywhere you go in sport mode, That's fantastic. Almost entirely fake though, but brilliant. Makes such a gorgeous noise for a diesel. That's the kind of thing I'm into, so I kind of like that. Chris Needham says, to burn fat, just turn the central heating down. This is true. Your body will, in the cold, will try and keep itself warm by burning fat inside itself. So if you ever want to lose weight a bit quicker, don't necessarily, when you sweat, you're losing water, right? You lose minerals and salts and water and stuff when you sweat, right? So you can look like you're losing weight very quickly because you're actually sweating out all of your liquids. But if you actually want to burn fat, you need to be cold. And when you're cold, you burn more. So when you go out on a run on a frosty cold morning like I did this morning, you actually burn a little bit more fat than you would on a sunny day. Your body's a great fat storage system. It just is. That's what it's designed to. Our body operates basically the same as it did when Stone Age man was around. Our body operation systems inside are more or less identical. And we can process animal fats, we can process vegetables, we can process all kinds of things in our body. But your diet is 90% of your weight control, not exercise. You can exercise all day long and still be chubster, fat, large, rotund, and not be able to lose any weight because your diet isn't working. If you're going vegan or vegetarian, get away from corn mince, get away from they're junk food. It's junk food, right? It's processed stuff, it's crap, it's really badly processed, and it's been framed as if it's healthy for you. It's not healthy for you. Anything that comes out of a chemistry shop and is sold to you as being food, it probably isn't. But it's very easy to end up as a junk food vegan and a junk food vegetarian. You're better off being a decent carnivore there and eating. I spent a good year and a half being a vegetarian, vegan, on and off, and I actually gained weight. Disappointingly, it was terrible, and lost all the will to run and everything, all sorts of things. I'm back being a meat eater now, and I would run rings around you. So it does work. Carson J says, but Bob, Chinese electric cars are rubbish. Yeah, but the tech isn't. They spent all the money, you said, on development, and they're still rubbish compared to Tesla, so what chance do they have with the hydrogen? See, the Chinese they're not inventors. The Chinese have never really been inventors in that respect. What they do is they go and they look at what someone else is doing, they disassemble it, then they say, how do we make that cheaper? And then they make it cheaper. It still turns out to be rubbish, but they learn. They learn, and they learn fast. Because it's a communist country. If you don't learn, they're going to take you to back and whip you to death until you do learn. So you will learn. And so what they do is they take it all apart, and then they figure out how all that system works, and then they make another version of this Chinese to sell to the Chinese. They only care about their own economy. They don't necessarily want to sell here in Europe. But what they'd be willing to do is hook up with someone like Volvo, that they already own, and they'd be willing to hook up with Volkswagen, because Volkswagen is already part owned by the Chinese. That's what bailed them out in the first place when the Dieselgate thing hit. They have huge investments in China. The Chinese don't invade anywhere, they just buy it. They buy into various companies, and then suddenly they own them. They own most of America, by the way, the Chinese. The Chinese own most of the American debt to the whole world. Just so you know. The Butcher says, too many cars on the road, more commuters need to buy motorbikes. Motorbikes and scooters. I mean, look at most of Middle Asia, anywhere around Vietnam or any of that kind of area where the roads are very narrow. There's a lot of people pressed into a very small city area. You look at how many motorbikes there are there, scooters. Nobody buys a car because it's impossible to move the bloody car around the city. So scooters are the big thing. Scooters were a big thing here. There was young guys, 15, 16, wearing a helmet on the back of their head, stupidly. They changed the rules, completely murdered the whole motorbike market here. And nobody batted an eyelid. Nobody stands up for these people. Everyone just goes, no, well, the government changed the rules. I better shut my mouth and do what I'm told. Ireland's endemic with this sort of stuff, and it happens all the time. We don't seem to take action. The only thing we ever took action on was Irish water. It's the only thing we ever stood up for, and we got our way. And now we don't. Now we don't stand up for ourselves anymore. Same again, we all just go back into the shadows now about property tax and television licenses and RTE looking for 200 redundancies to save 60 million. 60 million. I could save that in RTE in about 4 hours. Easily. Stop paying the on post 12 million for a start. On post charge RTE 12 million to collect the licence fee. And yet there seems to be a huge amount of evasion. Daniel wants says, thanks for the response, Bob. I'll keep my insignia for a while longer. So heading for a pint at 3. Enjoy. Oh God, I'd love a pint. I would, but I'm off drink for the moment. I'm just taking a little break from having a drink. I didn't take a break the other night from having a drink. Thursday night, I didn't drink anything until the event was over. And then I had a drink, which is more like 11 o'clock or something. And then I went on to before. Mark Turner-Smith, Bristol City are putting firm plans in place, got to pass through legislation, etc., to lead to the ban of all diesel, private or commercial by mid-2020. Can't see it happen, however, could set a UK trend. I just can't see this being possible by 2020. That's crazy. Like, I get it if you want to ban them from the city centre. I understand why you'd want to ban cars from the city centre. If you ever spent even a moment in Paris driving, just any moments in Paris, you'll find that banning cars, all cars from the city centre is a good idea, because Paris is chocker and the smell and the filth is horrible. So I get it. I get why you would do it. But doing it by 2020, where do people get all the money? What do you do with this car? What do you do with all the cars? If you can't drive a diesel or a petrol car anymore, what are you going to do with them? Recycle them? Because they're very hard to recycle. They're very difficult to recycle. It takes a lot of work to recycle a car properly, and the vast majority of the oils and crap that comes out of an engine when it's been recycled, half that goes into the ground and just gets lost in a bin somewhere. It's never actually recycled in the first place. The metals, they're not used properly either. Plastics are never used again. They go into landfill, a lot of that stuff. So what do you do? Like, you're making a balls of the situation. You're not making it better. You're making it worse by trying to drive people out of the car by 2020, by 2030. It's all political crap. Nobody seems to pay attention to the next 5 years. Not the next 12 months. That's irrelevant. And most of the things they're trying to solve are things that are beyond our capacity to understand. The melting of an ice pack in Antarctica doesn't make any sense to the average Joe Soap. You're not going to help that way. Plastic, and consume less in the first place. Don't keep buying new things. Cross says, money won't fix the fundamental issues. It's not an issue of technology or resources, physics of hydrogen from poor volumetric density to reactivity to make H2 vehicles possibly the worst application. Every engineering and economic issue with fuel cell vehicles are consequences of those fundamental characteristics of H2. There you go. You have it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Mark Turner-Smith says, shame the DeLorean failed. That was Irish built, wasn't it? It was built in Northern Ireland, but yes, it was definitely built on this island for a short period of time. A lunatic car that was never going to succeed anyway. Just somehow managed to kind of get some interest worldwide. It was an aluminium car, very hard to repair, very hard to fix and do anything with. The Americans kind of liked the idea of the gull-wing doors and stuff. It kind of turned them on. And so it got some homes, but it was never really going to be... We're never going to be a car company producing country. And what I mean by that is, to produce a car, like, if you look at how hard Tesla has struggled to produce their range of cars, and, like, make no mistake, they produced 3 cars. I know they've got a shitload of cars on the front screen of their website, right? They've got Model Y and Model this, Model that, but actually they only produced 3 cars, and then only in quite small numbers. And last year they lost 480 something million euro on the company of Tesla. They've gotten rid of pretty much all the middle management people are more or less gone, and all the marketing people are more or less gone, and all that. So that's a brilliant example of a way of looking at a company who got lucky. And don't make no mistake, they got lucky. They started that company at basically the right time. People were talking about electric cars, and they went mad straight in at the wild end of it with the Model S, and it did a bloody good job in the marketing. But still, you'll find right now, coming up their chuff now at this stage, really hard with a great big fist, is Volkswagen. And it's not just Volkswagen, it's Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW. They're all investing large sums of money into catch Tesla. And Volkswagen will come up with the ID3 next year in a blaze of glory. And if it does it right, it's going to wipe out every other company out there in the blink of an eye, because they can scale up production and they can fix cars. They have a dealership network to supply these cars worldwide. They can produce them in very big numbers very quickly. Volkswagen has bought their way onto basically every large outlet in the world that's manufacturing batteries right now. They've bought their way onto the boards of all of those things. They're really are scaling up in a grand sense. Seat are about to launch electric cars. Skoda have been muting their hybrid cars, plug-in hybrid cars, so they're going to go electric as well. Audi's already doing that electric thing. So you've got this whole move happening within the biggest brands in the world. And now we have the conglomeration of another couple of individual companies out there as well. Opel have jumped in with Peugeot, and then you have Peugeot and Citroën working together anyway. You got Renault and Nissan working together. I know they don't have much money, but they're working together. They're all doing battery tech. They're all working on day and night to make this happen. I've no doubt in my mind that these companies are going to kill everything out there. And if one of those deaths is Tesla, no one's going to bat an eyelid, because the way tech moves, it moves really fast. So Model 3 is brilliant, all talking about this year. Everyone's going to buy one, deadly. 2 years from now, are they going to have another Model 3? Because they don't have another Model X or a Model S. Those jokes are 5 years old now, are they? 4 or 5 years old at least. And I don't see a new one coming out anytime soon. So how about another Model 3? Everybody wants, what's the next thing? We're looking at Golf 8 the other day, but where's the ID3? It's weird how the systems run out there. Powell says, Bobby, the new Octavia has 2-arm steering wheel. Do you think this will be a bad move? Not that I drive it, I won't. I've driven two-spoke steering wheels before. Sometimes it gives you a weird feeling on the bottom of the steering wheel when you're driving along. It depends on how you sit in the car and whether you're sitting in the right way or not. It's not a future trend. It's something they'll do a Simply Clever element. It's Simply Clever. We decided to put our steering wheel looking like this because it's clever. It's a marketing thing, but it won't really make a whole lot of difference. You're supposed to hold the steering wheel, as I said in my video, how to sit in a car, how to steer a car. You're supposed to hold it at 3:15. 3:15? No, wait, no. 9:15, thereabouts. Or 2:45. Your hands are opposite sides of the steering wheel. That's how you hold a steering wheel all the time. Or at the bottom. So when you're driving on a motorbike, don't bother, put your hands at the bottom of the steering wheel. They're fine. Once they're not in the way of the airbag, you'll be okay. Power steering has done away with the whole 10-to-2 thing, along with airbags. Mark O'Reilly. Hi Bob, off to the ID3 pre-bookers event in Weston Airfield on the 19th. Looking forward to seeing the car in the flesh. No drives allowed, but they will outline the pricing and specifications. I'll be there myself, Mark. Don't know if I'll be there on the 19th. I think we're there on a press only day. It might be the day after or something, I don't know. I'm there anyway to have a gander around that myself. No drives either. I know. It's like, the billboards out, they have the cars out, they have the cars transporting all over Europe, and haven't driven a single car yet. No one has driven the ID3. Doesn't matter what sort of lies are going out on various YouTube channels about driving pre-production this or pre-production that. Lies. All of it lies. All of them are test mules. Anybody could drive them yokes. They're useless. Just want to see if I'm not missing anything here on my channel, on my phone. Don't forget you can support this channel multiple ways. Super chat, PayPal, Patreon, any of those kind of ways is always good. Anyway, whatever way you want, long as you subscribe is always good. It's a very busy day actually. There's a lot of you watching. Eric Watchford, hi Bob. I'm a bit late joining. That's okay. You've been busy over the last while. That campsite you showed in Cork looked a bit of fun. It is very, very fun. It's usually very booked out and it's usually closed when I was there. So I had a very different experience to everybody else here. I phoned the lady up. She knew who I was and she opened the place up for me. So that's quite nice. And it was lovely to meet her down there, Colleen. And we got on like a house on fire. But I was in a camper van as well, so it didn't really matter. She didn't have to open a yurt for me or put the heating on or, tidy the place up. I had a camper van. They're self-contained. You can just pull up anywhere, pop the roof, and you're sorted. Also, I will be testing the Volkswagen Grand California shortly. Just couldn't find a date to put the bloody thing in. Anyway, I will be testing over Christmas, and I'm making a special Christmas video out of 2 cars. God, I have a lot of work to do now. And you know what? I'm the one generating the bleeding work. I don't have to do all this. Mark O'Reilly, looking like the ID3 Max version is going to be pretty pricey in Ireland. Any bloody car is pricey in Ireland, Mark. It's just the way prices in Ireland work. They all look pricey. But yeah, it'll have to fit in to the Tesla end of prices or somewhere. It has to be in that point because it can't be more expensive. And it can't really be too far off. Like it has to be in a NASA's roar, whatever Tesla's charging for a long range Model 3. It has to be in that somewhere. Powell says, Bob, is your full name Robert? Yes, it is. I was named after Bobby Charlton. My brothers, I had nothing to do with this name, by the way. My brothers named me after Bobby Charlton. They were mad into football, and I was supposed to be a girl because I have 5 brothers. I'm the 6th brother, and there's no girls. So technically, I should have been a girl given the averages of things. And so my mother had not picked out a boy's name. And so when I was born, it was like, there's a baby boy, and the lads went, right, let's call him Bobby. So Bobby was what I grew up as. Teachers would call me Robert because that's what I was on the roll call. And I find Eastern European people still call me Robert. They find it easier to pronounce, I think, than Bobby, because I don't know if there's Bob out there. Anyway, I don't know. Thor Forns says, oil is no fossil fuels. Oil is aerobic organic decay of plants and trees and animals, and is second after seawater. So oil prices is scam, and no dinosaur fossils. I take it English, not your first language. I think I get what you mean. That oil is no fossil fuel. It is the decay of organic material into the ground that creates oil, for sure. But it's very, when it's oil below the ground, it's actually very bloody old. And I think that's where the term fossil fuel came out of. For many years, the fossil fuel, the idea that came from very old time. Andrew Wallace says, what colour is that jumper? Copper, kind of copper, rusty colour, I suppose, somewhere around there. It's in pennies. I bought it in pennies yesterday, I think. Need a jumper for Christmas. This is not a Christmas jumper. It's just a jumper, but it's sort of a copper coloured. Varp. At 5'10", I'm probably the perfect height to crash test cars, so to get started. There you go, you can make a fortune. Hire yourself out as a crash test dummy, paint yourself yellow, a couple of targets on your head, sorted. Do you know why there's targets, by the way? That's for the cameras to keep track, those little targets that are on their heads and things. And also, their face is full of makeup. It's a paint. So when they hit the airbag, they leave an impression of a face on the airbag, so you can figure out at what point of the airbag they hit. To see the hit in the middle or to the left or to the right, and you can check and see how the seat is positioned, because if your seat is ever so slightly twisted or turned or up or down or left or right, whatever, you're going to hit the airbag wrong and you come off it sideways and you hit the window. Not good. You never want to hit the window. The window has no give whatsoever. If I was chosen to hit something on the outside of the car, I'd want to be the bonnet. The bonnet's made of metal and will bend when you hit it, but if you hit the windscreen, nope, no bending. They will break your head. Liam Cotter, what's your opinion on the new model A6 286 brake horsepower? Worth the point, do you reckon? I do, yes. I love the A6. I've had it for a long time. Buy, if you can, 21-inch wheels, which are gorgeous, and they're not as uncomfortable as people make out them. Only ever buy DSG, the automatic version. Never buy the manual one. They're crap. All the German manual luxury brand cars have crap gearboxes. But it is. I do like the A6. I've liked it for many years. It's still one of my favourites. In Avant, 21-inch wheels, S-Line, DSG, and you'll be sorted forever. Eric Palmer, looks like Darth Vader is about to strike you down. Now pause behind you. Yes. That's been our Star Wars calendar. Is it the right month? It is the right month. Still November. That's my calendar that we write up all of my trips and things on, so you can block out days, and very manual in that respect. I do actually keep it on my Google calendar for forever, but it's nice to have the kind of manual backup that we can see here as well. So it sorts out my trips, because when I go on it, the problem is when you go on a trip, so like tomorrow, I get up, I have to go swap my car, I have to get my stuff together into the bags, then I have to go to Dublin and get to the airport, drop the car, but I have to drop the car because I won't be picking up that car when I come back, so I have to leave the keys at the desk and then the other car. It's just this really difficult problem that happens every time I want to go on a trip. And then when I come back, I might not be back till maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon here in Dublin, so still another 2 hours. I hit rush hour traffic, so another 2 hours home, and you know, it can be a big hassle going a lot of stuff, and it's not as fun, or as it can be cool depending on who you're with, but it's often not as fun as it looks on Instagram, or as it looks. It's not as exotic as you think. Byron says, I need to answer someone else. Eric Palmer says, hi Bob. Hi Eric, how are you going? Liam Cotter, serious savings on an English ones. What's an English ones? A 1 Series, like BMW 1 Series. I know they call it the one now, but 1 Series. I don't know what that means. Flyer says, great points about the current state of EVs. Technology makes pure EV a solution for some but not all. I'm in the US and cover long ranges on occasion. Poor recharge infrastructure pushes me to PHEV. And there's another good point there. Not everyone has the time to wait for a charge. And quite honestly, the idea of having to pull into a supercharger, or, okay, let's not use Tesla too much as an example, because Tesla have quite long range batteries, so you don't notice it quite as much. And particularly, I have to compliment, and I always do, the Tesla system whereby you set the sat nav where you want to go and it tells you how much charge you're going to left when you get there. That's genius. Why isn't everybody? That's just like the simplest solution to the whole problem. But anyway, scrubbing that for a minute. If you're driving an electric car and I have to get to the Ray Darcy show in Galway, like I'm already booked in to go down to the Ray Darcy show. Now, I'm already thinking about electric car, that range, how long will it take me to get there? Will I have to stop for a charge? Will the charge be working? All this stuff has to run through your mind. Whereas if I'm driving a petrol car, it won't be as efficient, but no matter where I go, I can get petrol. I'll never run out, even in the arse end of the night. The other afternoon, a good friend of mine driving a Tesla ran out of electricity. Well, didn't run out, but he had to charge up. The charger was out of service, so he had to get a 22 kilowatt charge. He started to charge, he set off, and he got a puncture. There's no spare tyres for a Tesla in Ireland. So, well, he was stuck in Enfield for the whole night. Happens. Yeah, it could happen to an ordinary petrol car as well, mind you, but not quite. You wouldn't run out of fuel, or very unlikely to run out of fuel. Eric Palmer says, any sign of Tesla superchargers opening up on the south of Ireland and maybe a showroom? There is both of those, Eric Palmer, already. There's a showroom in Sandyford for Tesla, which you can go and visit anytime. There's a fellow up there called Anton. He's a lovely chap. He will look after you at any point. I assume he doesn't just deal with the press. I'm sure he deals with ordinary customers as well. He's there, incredibly knowledgeable about Tesla. And we do have a supercharger. There is one just out the road from me. 20 minutes from my house is the nearest supercharger. And it's already in Ireland. There's plans for a northern supercharger, or one kind of further north in the country on the kind of Galway, Dublin route as well. I'm not sure if it's gone ahead yet, but I know Ionity is already opening their version of superchargers around the country. There's quite a number of them going into the country, but they do have a lot of software glitches and a lot of problems. But the superchargers are already here, so you should have no problem. J. Zemix, can't pronounce that. Everyone should buy a Suzuki Swift Sport. Greetings from rainy Poland. Used to live in Leixlip, County Kildare, missing Ireland for sure. Well, welcome to a rainy Poland. It's kind of a drizzly day here in Ireland. It wasn't earlier on. Beautiful blue sky when I was out running this morning, but it's gone kind of grey now. Suzuki Swift Sport is a very good car, without a shadow of a doubt. I do like them. Just a conservative Japanese company making little conservative cars is kind of cool. John Egan, great to hear you in New York every Sunday. New York. I've never been to New York. I'd love to go to New York, actually. I've never been to New York, no. I feel like I've visited New York many times because I watched so many vlogger types from New York at one point. Not just Casey Neistat, there was a pile of them at the time. And a lot of them have left New York now and gone somewhere else. But I'd love to go to New York. I've just never been. Mick Daly, the MG EV will outsell the big boys on price when it gets a foothold. It won't, Mick. It won't. It won't. They'll be stamped all over at some point. Like I said, there's a lot of these little cottage industries, very similar to cozy campers that I tested the Renault Traffic from, right? It looks like a Renault Traffic, like it's backed by Renault. It's not really. They take a commercial Renault Traffic, they bring it into a warehouse, and they fit it out with all the little bits that it needs, and they cut the roof out and do all that sort of stuff, and then they sell it for a modest profit, I'd imagine. Wouldn't be much in it now. And that's exactly what's happening to people like MG and all these other companies that are coming up. They're all operating like many years ago when Jaguar and Lotus cars and all these other little things sparked up all over Austin and all these different ones, all started in industrial estates. That's similar to what MG EV is at right now. It's just they got a little head start on it, and they're able to take a punt immediately on the EV front. I would not honestly buy any EV until about middle of next year, till I see the ID3, till I see the Peugeot 208e, the E version of it, till I see what Citroen's going to do, till I see what Renault's going to push on with that Zoe aspect. Nissan is definitely going to do something in that range as well. Seat will have the L Born out at some point too. Skoda will jump ship on the electric stuff. They will definitely add a PHEV. This is all going to happen mid next year. So if you're even thinking about buying an electric car, don't. Just don't. Wait till you have all of the choices at hand before you start jumping feet first, because you never know what you're going to get into when you buy one. So MG will not... They just won't be able to scale up anyway. I mean, it's a matter of scaling up. It's always a matter of supplying thousands of them to the market, not just a couple of hundreds. Anyway, Carjacker Zero says, bring back the square steering wheel from the Allegro. Yeah, remember that? It had a flat top and flat bottom, so it looked like a square. And if I remember correctly, the Allegro used to talk to you as well. When you left the door open, the door is open, would come on all of a sudden. Your seatbelt is not on. It was a huge selling factor for it. But unfortunately, it broke down if there was a T in the day of the week. That's when the Allegro broke down. And all of it, all the Austin stuff was like that. All of the MG stuff was like that. A lot of the Vauxhall stuff was like that as well. Totally unreliable. But that's the nature of development back then. It was like that. Cross says, how to disagree on the Tesla being a small volume manufacturer. I mean small volume manufacturer. They're a big volume manufacturer, but they're just got a head start. Not anymore. The Tesla Model 3 outsells the Toyota Corolla in Europe and has been around for top 10 selling models for months. Yeah, but if you look at the sales figures in Europe, Japanese cars do not sell well. Toyota is not a big manufacturer in Europe. They never were. They're big in Ireland for sure, and they're very big in the UK, but when it goes to the European scale, you drive down any Autobahn, the chances of seeing a Toyota anything or a Nissan anything is unlikely. There's very, very little of them out there, so they're not a big seller. But I do agree, they're not a small manufacturer. They used to be a small manufacturer, but again, to scale up beyond their level right now requires a lot of money, a lot more, and they've been losing money every single year. So there's a point where it becomes undefendable, where all of the competition has caught up on you. And they are not short of a few pounds, like, you know. So I love what Tesla's done. They've completely upset the market. They completely started this, but I'm just not sure that they'll be able to continue going at the volume they will when there's just a big amount of choice cars in the market. Do you have a video of the Golf 8 on the way? Well, it hasn't been released yet, so no. But I will be going to the international launch of the Golf 8, yes, and I will make a video from there for sure. That's my biggest video, is the Golf 7 video. 800,000 people have watched the Golf 7 video, which is an early video on this channel. And a good friend of mine, Declan O'Byrne, was on that trip with me in Sardinia many years ago. We sang many songs, and Declan unfortunately passed away last January. A lovely man. I met his wife was at the Irish car the other night at Lorraine, and she just started to cry when she saw me because she remembered the pictures and stuff from that thing. Lovely guy, and he'll be greatly missed. He was a good old journalist. He loved his cars, and he loved the football match as well, but that's a different story. But no, I will be going to Golf 8 one. Not in Sardinia, I think it's in Porto. Paul O'Connor, what's the name of that cheaper Android phone you bought a few weeks ago? You mean this one? I still have. What is the name of this thing? A Redmi 3 or something. A Mi 3. Is it called a Mi 3? I forget. A Xiaomi Mi 3. That's the phone, and it's very good, really good. It's not my main phone. I don't use it for phone calls every single day. I use my Apple phone for that, but I certainly use it to do my YouTube stuff and answer emails and things as well. The battery is just incredible. It's 4,100 milliamp hour battery, and it's got fast charging capability, and the camera's not bad. Image stabilization and video is absolutely crap, but the rest of it's actually pretty good. The photographs are good out of it for sure. So a Xiaomi XAMOI or something like that. It's Mi A3. Really good phone. $190 I think, or euro, I think I paid on eBay. And it was delivered in no time as well. Cross 13 in September. Hold on, just go back there. Jumped forward. In September, Toyota sold 14,056 Corollas, Skoda's 16,315 Octavias, and Tesla sold 17,505 Model 3s. In Europe alone, Model 3 has also outsold Corolla in the US in the same month. I think, I understand what you mean, but I think you're missing my point. My point is that both Toyota and Skoda, if they got orders for 30,000 Octavias, could produce it. What I'm talking about is the scalability of any company. To be able to scale up very fast is very expensive, but both those companies you're using as examples are providing to a market that only want that many, because Skoda, of course, Octavia has a new one coming. The Corolla has just gone into production, realistically last year went into production, but they don't sell very well in Europe. Tesla has outsold both of them. That's cool, that's great, because they're on the cutting edge of everything. When Skoda has an electric car and when Toyota has a full electric car, which they will go, don't worry, they will eventually, they'll scale up to those levels as well. It's all about a scalability effort. I'm not taking away from what Tesla's done. Tesla are a great company. They're doing what they can to get where they want to go. But it's going to be difficult for them to be able to scale up to keep up supply when the market is flooded with electric cars, when there's tons of them to watch. Good God, just over 200 of you watching right now. It's incredible. How did that happen? It is, of course, the biggest live stream in Ireland, this thing. I don't know how that happened either. It even got mentioned the other night in the middle of... what the hell was that show I was listening to? It was on the radio. Someone mentioned the Sunday service. It was quoting me as if something I said in the Sunday service. Even mad. Anyway, Carjacker says, have you thought of upgrading Henry to the Mini Mavic to avoid CAA rules tax on heavy drones? Have you thought of upgrading Henry to the... Are you talking to me? Because my drone is well under the FAA rules which are here. In Ireland, drone use is not illegal. We don't technically have a law covering drones, but we do have recommended guidelines. So you have to register your drone if it's over 1 kg. I think it's 1 kg. You have to register for flight. Now, actually, it's all kind of fallen off a cliff lately. A lot of people don't bother flying drones anymore because they bought them and they don't know what to do with them because there's nothing to film with a drone. So they don't bother with them. Drones have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the law hasn't really changed. Now, I don't tend to bring my drone too much on international trips because some countries are a little bit weird, like Morocco. It's a no-go area for drones. It's not the drone, it's the battery they don't like. There's a couple of other countries gone that way as well. If you're in the UK, there is laws surrounding drones. There is laws that will probably put you out of business if you don't have the right rules and regulations. Ireland here has a protectionist system. You have to pay $1,000 to a particular company to do a particular flying course, and I could show them how to fly the drone better than they can fly it. But either way, the laws here are not the same. My Mavic that I have, that I use, doesn't have to be covered by any of those laws. I do have insurance on the thing. I do have public liability insurance to go with it, so it's clean, it's fine, and I use spotters and I'm very careful. I have never crashed my drone. I have never lost my drone. It never gets out of my sight. Nothing like that. I don't bother with it. I don't do that. I don't use it that way. I use it for particular purposes. If you're smart with a drone, nobody cares what you're doing with it because you're not being an idiot. It's when you're on a beach and you're having a lovely little walk, stroll along, holding hand in hand with your best friend and lovers and all that sort of stuff, and a drone goes meow over your head. That's when it's annoying. You can see the thing then. That's some name, CML or something. Thoughts on Hyundai i40 currently on my second. Wait for the new one. They're good cars though. I do like them. If you're looking second hand particularly, they're not a bad looking yoke. Plus you look like a guard if you're in Ireland for start, because they're all in Hyundai i40s. Buy the estate one. The petrol one is better than the diesel one. The diesel one does better fuel economy, but the petrol one is better to drive. If you can get it with a 6-speed box, great. Really good car, like it, but there's a new one on the way which is going to be quite an improvement over where it is now. The Irish, not the FAA, the IAA is what I'm talking about here, in Ireland, the Irish Aviation Authority. Generally speaking, if you stay below kind of 20 metres, 25 metres, somewhere like that, and you don't fly over houses or buildings or public areas, e.g. a children's playground or a park, or just be sensible with it. If you're sensible with a drone, nobody cares what you're doing with it. No one. If you're flying a drone, you go to your local park and you're flying it over the GAA match, someone is going to be annoyed by that, and then you get a phone call from the guards all of a sudden, because if you're flying a DJI drone, which is the kind of the benchmark standard, they're registered. So every time they go up, they transmit their information to DJI and they record all your location. So just remember that. It can be used in evidence pretty quick. But I have done little jobs for people where, I remember when we had a heavy wind there one time for ages, and a fella asked me to go out and look at his roof. A mate of mine, look at his roof, because his roof had a crack in it, and I could get the drone close enough to it. We could see the crack without needing ladders and things. So that was pretty cool. Cross says, ironically, I have a CAA pilot's license due to some severe restrictions on my choice of aircraft in Ireland. Oh my God, it all jumped forward. I hate it when it does that. It's hard to find where I left it off. Oh, no, I've been here. Seen that there before now. In New York. Yeah, I see. Video of the Golf 8. I'm catching up news. Don't worry, I'm getting there. Brian Crowley. Bob, I haven't been here in a long time for a live Sunday service. Neither have I. But listening back to podcasts, keep up the independent, excellent reviews. Any plans for a live meetup? We were going to try a live meetup, but I got tired. And I couldn't go up with it. I couldn't go. I just needed to lie down in the corner and cry for 3 hours. No, I was busy another day. We're going to try it. I'm going to try another live meetup before Christmas. So we'll try for one in December. I think it might be too tight now to look for one in November because we're kind of... What date is it in November now? Yeah, it's the 10th now. So we're coming up on halfway through November. Don't know if we're going to get one in this month, but we might get one into next month. And we'll do it somewhere. We'll figure out where to go. But Midway is not bad, actually. They've expanded now. They have a big petrol station in Midway now. An Apple Green right next door to it. Still no charge points, though. Still didn't see any new charge points going in there. Carjacker says CAA, IAA, whichever, they all copy and paste the rules from each other. You don't have this rule now. You will eventually. I don't think we will, actually, Carjacker. Our rules come from Central Europe. The space agency is putting a lot of emphasis right now on drone technology. Actually, people have stopped talking mostly about drones, so the emphasis has gone off it. A lot less people, a lot less sales, a lot less effort going into it. People are getting a bit smarter with them as well. The problem is the early drones, the early DJI ones, the Phantoms and all that sort of stuff, could fly for 7 or 8 kilometers away from people, straight up and away in a distance. So people are able to fly them a long way, but the emphasis has gone off them a lot. So there won't be a lot of movement on this kind of stuff going forward. And I don't think right now that the laws can make any sense for anybody, because you must be allowed to have personal cameras and things. You know, it doesn't make any sense to start bringing in a load of laws. The best thing to do is just take the emphasis off them, because the majority of people bought drones are now sitting in the bottom of a cupboard somewhere, or they're sold, or they sold them second hand. They're gone. Mine isn't. Mine is still running 100%. Mark Turner Smith, I think it was Austin Maestro to talk to. Was it? Or something like that, yeah. Family friends had an Austin Maestro MG with a digital talking dash, a female voice, I remember. She was hilarious, mostly broken. Yeah, and then it would come on and go because it wasn't working. The ingress of water into the cabin was a great thing. Has the missus not made you coffee yet? No, she has not. I don't know where she went. I just got a coffee before we started. So no, she hasn't. She's around here somewhere. She went off and did a 10k. After I did me 5k this morning, she went off around 10k. So that's what happens. Jennifer Matthews cannot be sending me messages like that, because YouTube went, no, you're not allowed to do that. Derek Norris, hi Bob, sent you €5 per pal. Thank you very much, Derek Norris. That every little bit helps. It doesn't matter how small or how big the donation is. Every little bit helps. It always pushes the channel forward, leaves us in a position to be able to do more in the future. That is vitally important. Of course it is. An hour and 25 minutes has gone by, and it's been the fastest hour and 25 minutes I've ever seen in my entire life. There's still 200 of you watching. That's an incredible channel. I've never seen such a group of people to get together so quickly. And a lot of you, I noticed as well, on Facebook and on other platforms, have gotten to know one another, which is very weird. I mean, physically got to know one another. You've all met and chatted and looked at each other's cars and gone to days out and stuff. And that's brilliant. That's exactly what the channel was designed for. That's exactly what the Sunday service was designed for. Was to bring us all together, give us a place to chat and talk about all kinds of other stuff. Not just necessarily cars. The commonality, of course, is cars. But it's not necessarily exactly where we want to live all the time, as where cars are. Garrett Talbot says, hi Bob, buying a 2014 1.6 TDI Golf as doing 400 to 450 miles per week, leaving Toyotas after driving them for the last 20 years. Last 2 diesels I found Avenza's hours disappointing and not up to the driving I do. Your mileage is very high, Gareth. You'd have no choice but being a diesel, in fairness to it. The Golf is a good car for sure. 1.6 TDI had its problems. It had a flat spot in the turbo point, but I think they sorted that out. So it should have had a recall at some point on it. But definitely, I know, yeah, of course you can't do Toyota anymore. Toyotas just don't do diesels in their passenger cars anymore. They still make diesels, but they just don't put them in their passenger cars. They put them in their vans instead. Or they buy them in. I'm not sure where they buy them in or they make them, but they do still have them. But the Golf is going to do you proud. You'll be fine. It's the kind of car that will withstand that kind of high mileage stuff. I would be a little bit nervous of the 1.6 diesel doing very high mileage. I mean, I'm assuming you're just going to drive it till it falls asunder, which it probably will over the next few years. But Toyotas have been lackluster a little bit up until this year, but they don't do diesels anymore, so it's useless to you. Mark Turner Smith says, rules on drones have changed a lot in the UK last 12 months after some idiots brought Heathrow to a standstill a few times recently. Don't think they ever traced them. See, the problem is, it's not DJI drones. It's not the ordinary ones you go into a Halfords or you go into a PC World or something and you buy a drone off them. If it's a DJI brand, they're very well checked. They're very well, they can be blocked, they can be geo-fenced. The software on them is very good. These are the ones I use. There's one, but people buy ones. People buy parts and build their own one. You can buy kits to build your own drone, racing drones and so on. And those ones don't have that software. They don't have those abilities. They don't even have bloody sensors to stop them flying into things. So they don't quite work out the way you want them to work out. And I think that's the problem with them. I'm not sure what brought Heathrow or Gatwick to standstill. I'm not sure whether it was the police drone or a foreign drone, or someone spotted a drone, but as far as I remember, it was a pilot that reported seeing a drone while he was landing, and that brought the whole thing while they were trying to track where the drone was. Now we have guns that I see the French police running around with, these kind of rifle things that can stop the interference from drones and bring it down onto the ground. So I don't know how that's going to work, but the UK has a lot of rules that Ireland doesn't have. Your stop and search rules, your under distress rule, which is another one I see quite a lot. This person is causing me distress, so the cops come over to you. You know, I find London and Heathrow and Gatwick and all very hard to pass through. You are on camera and being inspected all of the time in England, and unfortunately you've lost a lot of your freedoms because of it, and I hope we don't here. Martio, hi Bob. Enjoyed your talk in the RDS after. Did you sell any Husqvarnas afterwards? I don't sell Husqvarnas. I literally don't. I don't sell any of that sort of stuff. I help out a number of small businesses on a marketing front. So what I do is, instead of somebody needing a marketing manager that they pay 50 or 60 grand a year for, which is crazy, small businesses get together and I help them all at the same time to try and become better at the marketing end of stuff. But it's a training thing. So I train them how to do a little bit of marketing, how to do a little bit of videos, and how to do a little bit of stuff, and then I disappear. And that's what I do with a couple of companies. There's more of that coming. It doesn't affect this channel at all, but there's more of that coming this year, a little bit here and there. Carjacker says, any new videos in the pipeline with your mate and a big Merc? No, Paul has gone off to his own thing, whatever he's doing. I'm sure Paul will come back around at some point, but Paul is a barber first, not a car reviewer of any kind. He's been a barber his whole life, so that's his thing. That's where he makes money. That's his bread, you know. So he has to do that. If he doesn't do that, he doesn't have anything. So it's a difficult place for him to be, but I don't have time to wait for someone to... I don't have time to wait for someone to get ready to do stuff. Do you either want to do it today or it just doesn't happen? And that's pretty much how it works. There's no time. I work pretty much 7 days a week, all year, every year, and I took 3 days off this year. Total. Completely total. Throughout the whole year. And I mean 3 days off in that I didn't Instagram anything or look up any videos, and that was because I was in a camper van. The Singing Shade, where are the 200 likes, Bob? Yeah, look at the 84 likes, 201 people watching right now this minute. What is your story? I need to put on a voice. I need to get the cat outside the back door that has fallen in love with my family and just doesn't leave and just sits there staring through the window like some sort of lunatic. I need to bring the cat on. That'll surely get me millions of likes then. Because you know, a cat is worth probably 200 likes for sure. It's getting dark, isn't it? I hate this time of the year in Ireland. God almighty, 3:30 and it's starting to get dark outside. This is the worst part of the year. Shout out to a reminder for more likes. Yeah, come on, give more likes. Hellhound, off topic. I love off topic. Off topic could go anywhere. This could end up in cows being killed. Who knows? But can anyone tell me the logic of low rolling resistance tyres? I want tyres to grip the road. Ah, well, okay. That's actually a bloody good question in fairness, you know that? Because I've done the courses. Tyres are about as sexy now as herpes. When you look at them, when you try and make a video about a tyre, right? And I mean that not sincerely. Look at a tyre and you go on a tyre trip. The man says, now film this would be good. And he starts talking about what the tyre can do. And you're looking at it going, You know, this is the most boring thing I've ever heard in my life. It makes sense. It's really important. They are the only thing that keeps you on the road, realistically. If your tyres and suspension and braking system are in good shape, you won't crash. You just won't. If they're not in good shape, you will crash. Anyway, so why would you have low rolling resistance tyres versus the kind of heavy grip tyres? Tyres need a number of things. Low rolling resistance will be done to improve fuel economy. That's the most important thing. Now, you'd find that on Prius, you'll find that on Corollas, actually. You find them on all modern tech. So almost every car has a different version of rolling resistance. So if you go to the other end of the scale and you're talking about off-road tires with the big knobbly bits, they have heavy rolling resistance. So they can actually make a buzzing sound when you're driving on the road. The low rolling resistance ones offer less grip but give you better fuel economy by a considerable amount. Low rolling resistance also means quieter. Now, if you look at most motorways in Ireland, the average volume there, so if you stand beside a motorway, just stand there for a minute. And I don't mean pull over the motorway, I mean get into a field behind the motorway and look over the fence at it and just listen to it. It's 120 decibels. That's about the equivalent of a bloody jumbo jet taking off. Like, it's really loud, and almost all of that noise comes from the tyres, not from the engines. The engines don't help, but tyres are there. So low rolling resistant tyres are quieter, which is the other part as well. So the more of this technology we find, the more we realise that low rolling resistance also means less grip, which means when you hit the brakes, the car doesn't stop as well. But there's a good balance between the two of those things. A lot of people want more grip. I want more life in the car. I want more life in the tyre. So I want a tyre to last longer. And when last longer means you need harder compound, which is less resistance again. So it depends what you want. It depends on what you want to spend as well as the other part. Tyres are not exactly cheap. Tyres on some cars, and generally speaking, if someone asks me here which car should I buy, and I advise them to buy a 5 Series Beamer or whatever, I usually tell them the next thing you need to do is go off and find out how much a set of tyres are for that car that you're looking at. And the reason I say that is because a tyre is a stress purchase. No one, hardly anyone, goes into a tyre garage to get new tyres just because they need them, because they think it's time to change. They usually wait till they're nearly gone, till there's nothing left, that they're cracked and they have to go for an NCT, and then they'll go and buy a tyre. It's only at that point you realise that a tyre could be 250 quid a corner on the car, and all of a sudden you're in debt for $1,000 for 4 tyres, you know. So always check the price of tyres if you're going to buy any car, no matter what it is. Some cars actually have special tyres for that car. I remember the old 99 Micra. We used to have a 99 Nissan Micra here. My wife used to drive it. Great car. Sorry I ever sold that car. But anyway, that actually had special tyres for it. There was Micra tyres. You had to go to a dealership to get, or not dealership, but you had to go and order special tyres for that Micra. So you had to do it. Marty O says, please stop lashing Dublin bus. I'd love to drive an electric one, but National Transport Authority buying only diesels at the moment. Yeah, and I know we have the perfect city centre of Dublin that could easily cope with electric buses on it without a shadow of a doubt, but don't want to hear about it. We only want to hear about diesel. It's not their fault. It's not the government's fault. Not particularly anyone's fault. It's a buyer's fault. It's a purchase incentive. They're incentivised to buy diesel. Simple as that. It's transport and infrastructure is already there. They've already got a pile of mechanics that are diesel trained, so it's already there. Tom says, taking the golf flat spot. Talking of the golf flat spot. Sorry, I was taking. What the hell am I thinking of taking? Now you speak English now. What's your opinion on getting a proper remap from a proper pro? Shortly after I bought my Citroën Berlingo Multispace 90 PS, I got it remapped, never looked back. Remapping is very, very good for a car if it's done properly. It won't have any effect whatsoever on resale value or on servicing or anything else if it's done properly by a professional. If it's done by a lunatic with a laptop computer and a cable that's able to click into the side of your car, you don't know what the results are going to be. But it should end up being about the same result, actually, because it's a computer program that's been remapped. So what you're doing is you're changing the spark points, you're changing the compression ratio, you're changing a number of factors within the ECU system that will allow you to get more horsepower from the car you've already bought. So you could go from 90 PS to 120 PS on the same engine with no mechanical changes whatsoever, all through remapping. Now, it can have a life problem. In other words, the life of the car can be shortened by that pressure. And also depending on the altitude you tend to drive at, or depending on the condition. So this is a worldwide channel, obviously. If you're driving somewhere like the Himalayas, you want to change that PS upwards because you get less oxygen there. If you're going down into somewhere like the depths of Ballygo backwards here in Ireland towards the coastline, it won't make a blind difference because you're at sea level, so you're going to get the same PS the whole time. So that's why when you climb altitude-wise, cars tend to run out of puff halfway up big mountains because the altitude changes, less oxygen going in, less compression that can happen. But no problem with remapping. I've hundreds and thousands of people have done it over the years. It does invalidate the warranty on a new car, however. So when you buy a brand new car, while the car is under warranty, it is invalid if you remap the engine because you're pushing it beyond its boundaries. It's gone very dark on the screen, I notice, rather than... I'm going to switch on a light. The light's actually behind me, so it might make a small bit of difference, but I don't know. But it's behind me, so I don't know how much a difference it's going to make. Marty O also points out that Shane Ross is a muppet. Shane Ross is Department of Transport, Minister of Department of Transport, among sports and tourism and a few other things he does as well. That light made little or no difference, but anyway, it'll be okay. Hi Bob, have you heard of the system? Any issues with the VW collision avoided? I'll start that again once I put my dentures back in and learn how to speak properly. Philip Singleton points out, he says, have you heard any issues with the VW collision avoidance system? If you mean the one that works up to like 30 kilometers an hour in a city, no, that one that stops that happening. I have had a few cross traffic alert problems with them. None of these systems are really 100% working. One of the few crashes I've ever had in a press car was in a Volvo, and the Volvo decided not to do the rear-ending system. Wasn't working properly at all, and it rear-ended a van. This thing is supposed to stop you every time, and that did actually happen like 4 years ago maybe. But I haven't had any particular emails from people asking me about the VW collision avoidance system in particular. No, not so far. That doesn't mean it's not happening. That just means I haven't heard of it. Michael Sherlock, electric cars better with low rolling resistance tires. Yeah, anything that needs extra fuel or extra range or extra fuel economy or whatever, low resistance tires will offer less resistance on the road. But just remember, just a small word on tires. Like I said, I know they're not sexy, I know they're not cool, they're not great, but in fairness to them, people like Continental, people like Michelin, people like Dunlop, they invest a lot of money in research of how tyres operate at temperatures on the road, on the surface of the road, on different conditions. They offer a lot of choice. They are not cheap, but in fairness, those brand names, we do recognise and we do know them very well. If you look after your tyres will look after you. They are the only contact your car has with the surface of the road. That's it. Your tyres. That's it. The 4 tyres make up somewhere around the size of an A4 page total. So you don't actually have a lot of contact with the roads. It's best to look after them as best you can. And I know that may seem like something, for me, I hate changing tyres. But, you know, there are times where you kind of think of the safety of your kids, your wife, yourself driving your car, and you think of how much you want to be able to stop and steer, and when they go into deep water or they hit a splash on the side of the road, you don't want them to career off the side of the road. So, you know, there is an element that has to go with it. Thank you to Andy McAfee, who is doing an exemplary job at defending us against weirdos. But, you know, we do get the weirdos every once. When you have 214 people watching at once, you do get the odd weirdo here and there. It's okay, weirdos are welcome. Just keep your opinions to yourself, even if they're right. It makes no difference. Brian Crowley, Bob, could you suggest a few options for a mid-size 5-door hatchback looking for 2015-2016, about 15k annual kilometres, for a second family car that's safe and reliable? In that year, you're going to have to go petrol for 15k. I wouldn't say diesel to you. 15k annual, 15,000 kilometres a year is tiny in comparison to what a diesel would do, right? So sticking around a petrol, I would go a 1.4 litre TSI, say at Leon, good value. You're going to get a decent little car there. Get a 6-speed manual box. You can get in DSG as well. I wouldn't bother with that. But it'll be 1.4 petrol. And I think it's in tax band A3 maybe now. Might be in tax band A2, somewhere around there. That's a good car. Skoda Octavia would be another one, 5-door hatchback that I've always recommended because it's giant. It's very big inside. It's very roomy. It feels bigger than it is. Not necessarily sporty. It's quite soft in the suspension realm. It's quite easy to drive over long distances. It's comfy. It's nice. Same place as the Seat Leon, of course. I mean, same company. So same chassis and gearbox and stuff underneath. Reliable too. Toyota wasn't doing so brilliantly around 2015, 2016. The Auris is very reliable. There's not much in them though, but they're not great to drive either. But certainly look at that. Mazda 3 at that time was very good. Saloon particularly was quite an outstanding looking car. The newer one is sharper looking, a bit more narrow, a bit more like, squinty eyed. But the outgoing one from 2015, 2016 was a good car to look at. And you will go around the clock in a Mazda. They don't break down. They just don't. Anything oddball in that round, there wouldn't really be. Ford Focus was nothing to write home about at that point. It was okay, but nothing really remarkable about it. There wasn't much equipment in them either. I think that's about it really. After that, you're kind of into some of the more bespoke European things, like some of the Volvos and stuff. But for a second-hand car, mid-size 5-door hatchback, there's not really a whole lot in that market at that point, because SUV was just starting to come out and start stamping all over places, which is okay. But at the moment, SUVs dominating the market, and it's driving me mental. Darren Kavanagh says, Horse, what do you think of the BMW X1? You get a horse from. X1 is wouldn't be my favourite now, the BMW range. It's not a bad joke. It's okay. But there's an awful lot of badge and not a lot of substance with the X1, I think. X2 is nicer by a long way. It's not something you'd write home about. I don't know if you turn up, you always have to explain an X1. Like you have to always explain a 1 Series. Why did you buy the older 1 Series, not the kind of modern. The newer, the 1 now is actually quite nice looking, but the older one was a bit rough looking in fairness. Mark Turner Smith, personally I have always preferred grip in tyres, soft compound, over rolling resistance, long lasting. It depends if you want comfort or not. If you're going to spend enough time on the road, tyres make a big difference to the comfort inside a car as well. The thinner the tyre, so if you buy a 21-inch wheel and you got little thin tyres on it, you'll find you'll feel every bump in the road as you're driving on the road. If you buy a 16-inch wheel with a great big tyre on it, you'll find that you don't really feel any of the bumps in the road, and the tyres last longer. So because the tyre compensates for hitting sharp edges and stuff, so the tyre does a lot of compensation. It's not just the shock absorbers. Thicker tyres allow the shock absorbers to work less, so your shock absorbers last longer, and so on. It's just catastrophic rundown. But I would certainly, if you like comfort, go soft compound and go thick, really thick tyres with small wheels, which look weird in a lot of cars. If you're not into the old comfort stuff, go thin tyres, and you can go harder compound, which lasts longer, but it doesn't give as much grip. Pardon me, at the cough there. And I don't have a cough button. In a radio station, you got a cough button. Well, a lot of places have them, which is a button where you will mute the mic you're on because you need to cough or sneeze or whatever it is that's going to be a loud noise very quickly. I don't have one of them because I do it raw, baby. Raw all the way. Byron says, Bob, what do you think of the BMW telling 3 Series owners to stop driving now and take a taxi? Is the Tachykart airbags, here we go again, in 2007-2003 Series, BMW pay for taxis, hire cars or buy back? That's mental. Why would you do that? 2000 to 2007 3 Series. And the old airbag issues come up. So what happened was a company called Takarta, or something they were called, from Mexico, basically made airbags for every bloody car on the planet. But at some point or other, when making this airbag, some damp got into it. And I don't mean water, but I mean just some condensation got inside of the airbags. So the problem is these airbags can ignite intermittently whenever they feel like it. And inside the airbag area, there's loose metal. So when it goes off like a bloody claymore, right? Like shrapnel comes out of it and hurts people really badly. Deaths, like, it could kill you. And so this has been going on and dragging on for years and years and years as Takarta find out what other airbags they sold over all the years. But now we're back to 2000. It's 19 years ago. That's crazy. But I suppose if BMW can afford to pay for taxis, let them pay for taxis if they want to. But it sounds insane that somebody making that many airbags would have that much of a problem with it. They must have cleaned it off. I'd say that company couldn't still be open. Surely, by God, it could not still be open. I drove a Citroen C3 up Mount Tida in Tenerife, ran out of puff up there, took it back for the Ibiza TSI. The difference was amazing as the turbo helped. The EV would be superior up at that altitude. Well, EV doesn't have any worry about air intake other than cooling. It wouldn't have any worry about air intake, whereas a car, ICE engine car, relies on air intake to complete the compression ratio, which is the amount of times that the cylinder head has to come up and compress the fuel inside before it goes off. And that's where the air intake and exhaust system works out. So without any air, an ICE engine doesn't really run very well. It will run just not with zero air, but it'll run at very thin altitude airs, and will do the job. But if you start off at the bottom of a hill at 100 horsepower, by the time you reach the top of the hill, you're more like 90 or 80 horsepower. You're changing down through the gears. A turbo gives you more because it spools up and gives you more pressure on the way up. So it's not as bad when you've got a turbo, but it can still be quite a significant amount of drop. And in some cases, older cars might not make it all the way up a hill. I know, because I've done it. I can remember one time, my wife will verify this, we drove a Nissan Micra up a hill, a very old one called Daisy, and we drove up the hill, and we couldn't make it all the way up the hill, so we had to do a sort of a U-turn on the hill and came back down. And on the way back down, the brakes burst. The brake line burst off the car, and we had no brakes whatsoever coming down the hill, and I had to reassemble the brake system at the bottom of the hill at night time in the dark. That and the windscreen wipers went flying over the top of the roof one night as well while we were driving along. Pumping handbrakes. Yeah, I remember one time we were driving through Tullamore in that same Micra, and we were ahead of a Garda in front of us, and the handbrake came on, so the shoes opened. So in the back of a car, there's shoes that put pressure outwards onto the wheel to hold it still, but the shoe burst, so it came on, and the right rear wheel of the car locked up in front of the guards, and we had to pull over, and I had to pump the handbrake so I break the cable so I could make the thing release. My God, what a piece of crap that car was. But it was all we could afford. I think we paid £100 for it or something, and it was all we could afford at the time, and it worked. We kept it on the road for ages, but it was dangerous. It'd be dangerous now. We'd never make it on the road now. These cars just don't exist anymore. Cross says, driving an EV up El Tide is on my bucket list. Last few times I did it in a Mini Countryman, missed my i3. Electric car had no problem with hills, because electric car will have no drop off in horsepower because of altitude, but it would have a drop off in horsepower because of inclination. So as you go up a hill, you would you will start to lose it. So it started to lose its power, and you have to push further down the accelerator pedal to go further up the hill. But it shouldn't really bother. You won't get as much range from it. But then when you're coming back down, if you put on the kind of resistance mode, you'll get free electricity on the way down. And we all like the free electricity. As a word of warning as well, if you're going to electric charge point in Ireland right now that's run by the ESB, you can no longer open it with anything that is not a registered card. So I've heard this from Phil Hederman, mate of mine, Phil Hederman. He's the Evening Herald and the Sunday Independent, and he tells me he couldn't open a charge point with anything. Any of the cards wouldn't work at all, and he rang the ESB and said he was stuck. And they went, well, tough, you should have registered your card. And that was pretty much it. So it was kind of a weird experience for him, for sure. Owen Dunn says 09 1.9 TDI. Was there many problems with the DPF? 09, yes there was. So if you're not aware what a DPF is, a diesel particulate filter. As your diesel engine emits CO2 and other gases and heavy metals and all kinds of stuff, it gets trapped in a DPF. It gets trapped inside a diesel particulate filter, and at some point the diesel particulate filter will suck in some well, it might not do it in 09. Did we have AdBlue in 09? AdBlue is basically pig urine, but I'm not sure we had it in 09. See if there's AdBlue. If there's no AdBlue, you're definitely going to have a problem with DPF. So eventually what happens is when you go out on the motorway and you drive fast, the DPF heats up, superheats, nearly glows, and it re-burns that stuff off to come out again. But the problem is, if you never reach high speeds and you never reach high temperatures, that DPF clogs up and will be stuck. So 1.9 TDI, I take it you're talking about a Volkswagen 1.9 TDI, because they were the only ones I think making the 1.9 TDI in 09. You can check it. There's a regen light that comes on your dashboard, a yellow light that will light up as you're driving along, and if it doesn't light up, it's not operational. You can, don't do this, but you can remove the DPF, but it will mean you will fail every NCT from there on outwards, and you also emit an awful black juice of stuff coming out of the back of it. Terrible for the environment, terrible for people's health. But you might find a good one, and it could work, and if you regularly go up and down the motorway, you'll never notice you even have one. It'll work fine. David McCarthy says, cheers from Chicago. Love your channel. Thanks, David. Good to have you here. What time is it in Chicago? It's nearly 4 o'clock here in Ireland. So to 4 or 5. Chicago is just north of New York. So it's about 5 or 6 hours behind us. So it's early morning over there somewhere. Angel has pointed out to us that God isn't real. Thanks, Angel. That's great. News we didn't need to hear today is one of those things, which is God isn't real. But good for you. I'm glad you like that. But we're going to remove you, because you know the weirdos that come, these weirdos, they turn up near the end of things, but they start getting really busy to turn up. You should hang around. Some of the stuff is hilarious that they fire up on the screen. Honest to God. I wonder how people have nothing better to do with their time than create a YouTube account, come to a YouTube live stream like this, and tell me that God isn't real. But anyway, good for you. Congratulations, you will continue on your merry way. Andy McAfee says, reference 09 1.9 TDI and DPF. 1.9 TDI didn't have a DPF. Oh, there we go. We're good. In any VAG car. 2-litre TDI back as far as around 2007. Yes, problematic. More so in PD. Not later, 2009 onwards-ish. 2-litre TDI CR, which improved massively. You should read that, because reading it out is very hard. But basically what's been pointed out is an 09 1.9 TDI did not have a DPF. So you're sorted. You'll have no problem at all. Angel disappeared while I was typing. It's okay. Don't worry about Andy. I seen that, Angel. Angel came in with a great username. And told us that God isn't real. Like, we needed to hear that on a Sunday. It's always good though, isn't it? It is just coming up to 4 o'clock. It's been a wonderful, wonderful Sunday service. There's a lot more to come on this channel, of course, obviously. It's probably been the busiest day that I've seen so far. Over 200 people watching at any given minute, which has been a fairly high number. I'd love to have more, and I'd love to have you come back every Sunday. So if you can click the subscribe button and then click that little bell beside the subscribe button, you'll get a little notification whenever I go live, because what I'm hoping to do is go live in Prague tomorrow night and show you live what the unveiling of the Skoda Octavia is going to look like during that time. So if you want to join me for that, I'll be doing that, and I'll be doing some Instagram posts from there tomorrow night as well, and some Twitter posts and things. So get on my social media to see what that's going to look like when we unveil it, and then continue watching on Instagram, because you find out what I'm going to do after that. I don't know what's going to happen after the live thing. Could be a party or something. I'm sure it's going to be something. Tom Bowen has just joined and says, enjoyed your camper van review during the week. I have a 1984 T25 Westphalia with a 2-litre Subaru engine in it. Why did you buy a Subaru engine? Subaru engine? Is that a boxer engine? Anyway, sorry. Goes well, but wondering has anyone else in Ireland done this conversion? Not with a bloody Subaru engine, I have no. Sorry, boxer engines are. Well, I'm only slagging out boxer engines because they're kind of useless, to be honest with you. Very low compression out of them, and the pistons go at each other. It's a weird. It would be good, but it's not great. They're usually crap. Anyway, now that I've answered all those questions, you're absolutely brilliant to be here all this time and to do your donations and everything else and your PayPals and everything. It's been wonderful to have you. Hopefully you can continue to support the channel as often as you possibly can, because you know the channel remains big and free and everything else that I can do because of you. And the reason I stood on that stage the other night, standing up in front of the entire group of the world in the motoring industry in Ireland, and been able to tell them exactly what should be happening in the motoring industry. And the reason I can comment on the radio on behalf of the consumer, and the reason I can talk about the consumer and try and protect you as best I can, is because you're here, because of this audience that has driven it forward every single year since it's been operational. But thank you very, very much for watching. And if you want to join me next Sunday, brilliant. But certainly join me on Instagram tomorrow, or join me on on here on YouTube on the live stream tomorrow as well, because I'll be over in Prague doing stuff. Hopefully you will be able to join me. And what? The what? Oh yeah, I have to do a 10k tomorrow, or next Sunday. I have to go to Gingerbread Run. If you're going to be at Gingerbread Run, I'll see you at that 10k to do with that. My wife should remind me there to do 10k. So after the 10k, I'll go live here on YouTube for another Sunday service. But anyway, join me there next Sunday for the next Sunday service. And until the next time, I will see you on the far side.